Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my first review of Kamen Rider Daima. Whoops. Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review of episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima. I said recently I was going to broaden my content a little bit, still deciding for other topics if I'm going to make a different channel or do a patron thing, but Dragon Ball feels like there's enough overlap in my current audience that I feel comfortable covering it. I'll review at least the first few episodes, see how it goes, see if we get enough engagement to, make this like worth having a video series over, but just let me know if you'd like to see me continue reviewing this series or see some more Dragon Ball content. I have at least one other Dragon Ball video that will be releasing the day after this video if all goes as planned. But let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm pretty excited for this series. I think there's a lot of mixed feelings surrounding it just because, like a lot of people, I was surprised at what the series was going to be, turning them back into kids and they're like, something that's never been done before. And I'm like, bruh. But I was still excited for more Dragon Ball. I'm still just surprised with how big Dragon Ball is. I mean, we obviously know it continues to do very well in games and all the other stuff, and then the manga was continuing, but I'm like, why did they not continue Super? Like, I know that there's always controversy in fandoms, but there was some, disappointed people about certain aspects, but it was still doing well. So I was just surprised. I'm like, why are we not continuing this? So for us to pick this up with this was very interesting. And then, of course, after the unfortunate passing of Toriyama, I think it added a little bit of a different perspective. While I still have some mixed feelings about the setting and some curiosity, and am eager to return to, post-superhero content, I can't help but be more endeared to this just because it is one of the last things he worked on. Not to mention, despite initially being taken aback by this setting, it's admittedly interesting and offers some interesting possibilities. So I do still have some criticisms and worries, but it's not coming from an overly negative place, just kind of a curious place. But let's start with some positives. I mean, first of all, the animation is beautiful. That's something a lot of people have been talking about, that they wish that they had given Super more time to cook just because, there was some controversy over a lot of the animation in that series. But this just looks absolutely gorgeous. Like everything we see, especially like the fight with Goku and Vegeta, when we're going over some of the past events, it was cool to just see that with an updated art style. It just was beautiful to watch. I can't, deny that for sure. I also really like the expansion of some of the mythology. I really have enjoyed that in this last few years with Super, expanding things to gods, and this is kind of expanding the mythology surrounding Babidi and Dabura. Was his name Dabura? Dabura. Also, I'm a dub guy, so I'm going to use a lot of the English names pretty much, but I'm watching this subbed, obviously. Anyway, that was something I never really thought about. I never gave... is his name not Dabura? I'm just going to call him Dabura. He's going to be Dabura in this little universe of this video. But I never gave him much thought. He just kind of served his purpose. So I think it's interesting expanding that aspect of the mythology out. And there's some interesting characters in there with Supreme Kai's brother and sister. Just the whole demon realm and their Dragon Balls and their cool Namekian that makes their Dragon Balls that is so powerful. He can unstone the Dragon Balls of Earth. I thought there was just a lot of cool stuff there that I'm eager to learn more about. And there's also these guardians of their Dragon Balls that they tease, which I think is really interesting. I feel like I have no doubt that they're going to fight them. I get a feeling that their goal is going to be finding the Dragon Balls of the Demon Realm to stop this, and they're going to have to fight those. So I just found that to all be really interesting. This is a very small little positive, but no pun intended, I didn't mean that. But there was a really funny exchange about height where Krillin's like, oh, Trunks, you're awfully short for your age. And he's like, oh, you're one to talk. And then Goku was talking about the Saiyan growth spurt. And he's like, although I don't guess Vegeta didn't have it. I just thought that was a really fun little exchange. I just really liked that. Speaking of some exchanges, this is kind of more of a mixed aspect, as it's not something negative that impacted my experience. I'm like, oh, what trash writing or anything. But I did just find it funny how kind of, in a small way, needlessly complicated and confusing the stuff about Supreme Kai separating from Kibito is. Because, again, this is where I'm talking about I have some gaps. Because it's been a while since I watched Super, the events of Super where they unfused. Because if I remember right, they were fused at the end of Z and they unfused in Super. And then, but I did read the manga recently. It was within the last year I decided to finally read the manga because I wanted to find out what happened afterwards. But I read through all of it. I didn't just stop at the end of the tournament arc. I just went through all of it. So there's a chance that maybe there was some differences. I know there were some differences in the Goku Black arc, so I don't know if some of this lore that I'm about to talk about came from the manga only or if it was in the anime. But if I recall, during the Goku Black arc, they had retconned it so that the fusion was only temporary for non-god beings like Goku, Vegeta, Vegito, but then they also retconned it somehow so that they became unfused. But in this one, they use the explanation of course, in the original Dragon Ball Z, Goku and Vegeta unfused from being in Boo's stomach, so they just asked Boo to swallow them, oh, that can be taken some ways, and unfuse them. And I don't know, it just seemed needlessly complicated for the clear reasoning why they just wanted them to be separate here. I just found it to be kind of funny. Maybe they'll find a way to fuse them again, or they might have to by the end of the series, but I don't know, I just thought that was weird. Which brings me to one of my more mixed aspects. So this is set between the final fight of Boo and where we pick up at the beginning of Super. It's just so funny how many selective sequels there are in this, because Dragon Ball Super takes place between the end of Z and the epilogue of Z, and then this is like another insert in between that. So it's like they're at their power levels after Majin Buu, no god stuff or anything like that, which obviously there's specific reason they're doing that for these characters that are very much tied to Majin Buu, and the timeline of it where this character would immediately become the Demon King. It makes sense why he would be worried about this, although it's like, there would be no show. I'm like, why don't you just wish him dead? Can the Dragon Balls wish people dead? I don't think so, but I feel like you could wish them to like a dimension where there's only shrimp, a world of nothing but shrimp. Shout out to those who get that reference. Or just wish them into a void. I don't know. Again, there'd be no show. But regardless, it makes sense, like in the story. However, I couldn't help but think, because he's mainly worried about if these powerful beings ever get a hold of me, I'm toast. That would be, like, the fact that he's almost outraged, both of these characters, that these, like, mortals have risen such a high level. I feel like that would be even exacerbated. What's that mean? Exacerbate. It would be even more exacerbated if they found out that they had now reached God status. I'm like, that would be kind of, in my opinion, I don't want to, back it up for a second. I don't want to be one of those fans that I'm not trying to say I have a better idea or anything like that. I'm just saying, this is just my thought when I was thinking about the setting and things that could be interesting if they set it at, like, around Super, like where we're at now. Because I don't want to be one of those fans like, why didn't they do this? I know better. I'm like, no, I'm an idiot fan. I'm just thinking out loud of what I was thinking about the setting, because I was just thinking that, like, they could find out, like, oh, Dabura hasn't been back in a while, and then they're like, what happened to him? Like, oh my god, all this Boo stuff went down. Where are these characters now? And then see them at God level. It'll all depend on how this is explored with the characters, but I think aging them down and decreasing their powers would be a little bit more interesting if it was decreasing them all the way down from God status. I just think, and that would also allow them to keep Kibito separately. I just couldn't help but think there would be some slightly more interesting aspects if they were doing it in present day. And it also just seems funny that they're like, oh my god, these characters are so powerful, turn them into kids. But I'm like, wait till you see them next week when they're like fighting gods. So I don't know, I just have some mixed feelings about the selective sequel setting. I feel like it could have been made to work in more present day. I don't want to say it seems confusing, but it does just seem a bit weird. Also, even though I really do like the mythology we've built out, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of what's his name, King Doma, the villain. I'm just not a fan of those little Emperor Pilaf-like villains. Obviously, there's going to be some cooler characters we're going to be fighting that we tease, and some we haven't even seen yet, but I'm just not a big fan of him as a villain, just not that my cup of tea. And also, just in terms of the pacing of the episode, I felt that the recap stuff went on a bit too long. Like, I really did like seeing some of the old scenes and the cool animation, but it just felt like it took a little bit too long, and it felt like this episode in general felt like a weird, not even just a setup episode, but it felt like an episode 0 that releases to like catch people up, because in a weird way, the way they presented this almost feels like they were making it for people to, like, new audiences to jump on, which is, there's no problem with that, but it just made the episode feel anticlimactic. Like, I overall enjoyed it. I'm in a big Dragon Ball mood right now, so that influenced it, but as a first episode, I'll be honest, it was a little bit anticlimactic because it was so much setup, and literally, right when we're getting to the main event, which is them turning back into kids, we cut it off. I kind of wish it had been a 2-episode premiere. I don't think that's the thing they worry about in Japan or like with animes like we do here, but I'm just kind of used to some series that we stream here where they know that the meat of the episodes is going to be in the second or third episodes. They'll drop a couple of them at once, and I kind of wish we had gotten 2 episodes, just because even though I'm enjoying it for what it was, it felt a little bit anticlimactic and a lot of like exposition and setup. But I'm still into the series, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. What did you guys think of the episode? Let me know in the comments as always, and let me know if you'd like to see me continue this series of videos. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.